Well, good morning. Hi, my name is Tim Haig Sr. I am a professional speaker, author. I am the founder of U-Turn Parkinson's, a wellness center here in Winnipeg, Canada. I have Parkinson's disease and I am a PD Avenger. Welcome to Coffee with Tim, a conversation of life and Parkinson's. Well, here we are back, as promised, 2 weeks later with Coffee with Tim. Hope you're doing well. If you're just tuning in and don't know what Coffee with Tim is, well, I'm Tim Sr. I'm Tim, and my son and I ran and won the Amazing Race Canada 10 years ago now. Amazing, back in 2013. But that has given me the opportunity to do lots of things with Parkinson's disease since being diagnosed with Parkinson's back in 2011. And we get together every couple weeks now and talk about Parkinson's and life. So if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And if it's your umpteenth time tuning in, welcome back. I've got a great guest with us this morning. My friend and colleague Larry Gifford is joining us this morning to talk about DBS, deep brain stimulation. And I think you're going to be stimulated by the conversation. I personally am having a DBS surgery done February 1st of 2024. And Larry and I jump into that conversation and talk about how his has gone. He is just about 2.5 months post his surgery. And here I am just a little over a month out away from mine. So let's jump into that conversation, and then after that conversation, we'll come back and talk about a few other things. Hey, Larry. Good morning. Welcome to
Good morning, Tim.
Thanks for coming and joining me again. You are my most often or most frequent visitor at this point.
Well, it's a pleasure to spend time with you.
Always glad when we can get together and shake together.
Yeah.
Well, how you been doing? I've had lots of people asking me, "How's Larry? How's Larry? How's Larry since his DBS?" So I thought,
Well,
I need to
Larry's
talk
doing
about
pretty
mine a little bit,
good.
but let's talk about yours first.
Yeah. So I've got my bumps here where they inserted the
Yeah,
electrodes.
yeah. Now tell us about those
Got,
bumps. Are they going to go away?
yeah, I think so. I don't know. Then they buried the cord in here.
Yeah,
Goes all the way around here. You can feel it here.
that's the electrode going down, right? Okay.
Yeah, and it goes into my chest.
And then you put a little battery pack. Now that's
Yeah,
on your left side, right?
yeah,
Down
over
over
my
your
heart.
heart. Okay.
And it's all healing very well. I have not been turned on yet. So it's been 2 months since my surgery.
Wow.
They usually schedule the turn on and the fine tuning to begin after 6 weeks.
And you've
And
been
at the 6 week mark, I went in and they're like, "You're too good." So
hey, explain that to
my
us. What does that
symptoms have
mean?
to be back to pre-op days.
You need to be feeling like you did preoperatively.
Right. And so I was only taking like 4 or 5 pills a day at that point. And so now I'm taking more. And so I'm going to start my dial-in process next week.
Okay. Do you mind telling folks how much medication you're on now?
I'm on about 16 pills of levodopa, instant levodopa, the yellow pills. And
Yeah.
then I've got 2 of the extended release.
Wow. So you're a little bit ahead of me. I'm doing about 12 a day right now. So now you're just about back to where you were preoperatively with your medication. So now do you have a date to actually turn the device on?
Yeah, January 2nd.
Okay, so coming up.
Yes, looking forward to that.
So
And
how have you felt? How have tell me how you felt since
I,
the device went into now?
I felt amazing. Like this has been the best honeymoon ever.
Wow.
I I've like pretty much all my symptoms just sort of went
Gone.
for the first eight 8 weeks, 6 weeks, I guess, 7 weeks. No dyskinesia. I didn't have temperature regulation issues. I
And you were
didn't.
walking with poles at one time.
I was walking with poles everywhere. I don't use poles anymore.
Wow.
I uh, there's no sign of tremor. The brain fog lifted. I had energy. I'm like it was really quite emotional and dramatic. Like it was almost like a temporary relief from the disease altogether.
Yeah, I'm going to say wow again for the 10th time. Wow.
Yeah. So for
That is truly
me,
amazing.
the experience is well worth it.
Absolutely
Now,
incredible.
I'm not here to give advice, to counsel anybody else on
Right.
what they should do,
But
because
it has worked.
it is it's a surgery. It's on your brain.
Well, you were
So
pretty freaked out ahead of time, if I can be very frank. You were concerned, right?
oh yes, yeah, I was freaked out. That's a good word for it. And I've, my wife and I, we went through the will and the living will, and
Yeah.
we had to get a special document because we're in BC, and like we checked all that stuff out, and just prepared my son, and like this is surgery and things could go wrong. Like we
And what are the
kind of
chances of
like the
things going wrong?
morbid, but we have to do it.
Yeah, you need to be prepared. But what were the chances of things going desperately wrong?
Point, well, I think like 1 to 5%.
Yeah, pretty small. But still, you're very wise and absolutely correct that we need to do these things and make sure all the pieces are in place. Because we were talking once before, and we said, even though that bell curve is like this, and you hope that you land somewhere in the middle, and if over here is really great and over here is really bad, well, somebody has to end up in those places to have a bell
Right.
curve, right? So we hope it's not us.
Yeah.
Just in case, you got a plan
Right.
accordingly.
And then I was enjoying not so when I right after the surgery, I was on like 4 pills a day.
Okay.
And I liked that a lot. And so I think I stayed on 4 pills longer than I should have, because my wife's like, I think you need a pill. I'm like, no.
I'm doing great. Don't you know? I
She's
know.
like, you're bumping into furniture. I think you need a pill.
Time to go. Now, tell me, before you went on, well, your Parkinson's, have you been predominantly tremor dominant or non-tremor dominant?
Non-tremor dominant, but it sneaks up on me when I'm,
Okay.
off.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. And did you choose to do your DBS awake or asleep?
Awake. I didn't really have a choice. The
Okay.
doctor I used did it awake. And the thing I was most apprehensive of was the cage on your head. And you can see where they screwed it in. And literally, they screw it through your skin into your skull and just tighten it. And it's
So instead of ending up with 2 extra holes in your head, you ended up with 6.
yeah. Well, I got 2 back here too.
I have to tell you that the awake procedures always freaked me out because of that device or halo or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So the halo, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it's like everything they do, like the local anesthetic, and then the putting it on, and it's all like a bee sting that lasts about 40 seconds,
Okay. So that's manageable.
which is manageable. It's just getting over the thought of what they're doing.
Wow.
And then like when they were drilling into my skull, um, I didn't feel anything other than when they punched through, I could feel the air
You
like
saying you're an
in my
airhead?
head.
Oh, that's crazy. That is
Yeah.
wild. That's absolutely wild. Well, now I'm slated for a sleep. My guy gave me the option. We talked through the options somewhat ad nauseum. I have, of course, had lots of questions. They say the success rate is no different than asleep or awake, rather.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with the halo or the feeling like air is rushing from my head or the hearing that the burr hose.
Nice.
So we'll see. I mean, I feel like we at the PD Avengers, you will have done yours now awake. I'll have done mine asleep. Sonia isn't going near this at all yet. So,
Yet.
yet. Well, she's got a great. We were talking earlier about John Stanford's book, DBS Stories. It's to come out here soon.
DBS Diaries, right?
DBS Diaries. There we go. And we've each written a story about them, about our journey towards DBS. And I was quite fascinated by Sonia's, as well as a
Yes.
few other people's, including yours.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive collection of
Yeah.
stories. I think there may be 20 in there.
Yeah.
And including a long passage from John, and it's his book, and we contributed to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully it helps people. because it just gives a bunch of different perspectives.
Yeah, well, I know it has helped me when I sat down and just read Sonia's, even though I've had her tell it to me in person, and I know her reasons for not having DBS at this point. It still helped to sit down and read it and to be able to think through her rationale and why she's chosen what she's chosen. And it makes
Right.
very good sense. And listening to your story, helps all that much more. Me questioning, do I want to do it awake or asleep? And I think I'm still comfortable with my doc. I'm pretty confident in him. And
Yeah.
if I don't have
I
to,
think the most important thing you can do if you're considering DBS
yeah,
is make sure that you have a surgeon that does this regularly.
yes, yes,
It comes down to the surgeon and his team.
yeah,
And if they're comfortable, you should be comfortable.
yeah. My guy
But
does
if
it
they're
all the
just sort of
time.
like getting out of med school and they're just, this is my first one,
Let's go
be
fishing in your
careful.
brain, see what we can find.
Yeah.
Let's look for that STN. Where is that thing at? I thought it was over here, George.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic. But it's yeah, I'm very confident in my doc. He does this all the time. He's been able to answer my questions thoroughly and calmly and consistently. He never gets tired of me. He never gets bored with me. The folks at the movement disorder clinic that I attend, they put up with me calling and saying, okay, one more question, one more question. And if anybody ever balks at that other one more question, then you should start either getting annoyed with them or worried, because
Yeah.
Larry's right. You have to be comfortable that they are comfortable with what they're doing and comfortable with you.
One of the great things that I was not aware of until actually I had the surgery was they dedicate a nurse just for you.
Hmm.
So there's a nurse that's by your side, holding your hand or touching you or
Hmm.
whatever. She's there to serve you and to make you feel comfortable and to scratch your head and to, if you have an itch on your nose, she'll scratch it. If you've got to wipe tears away or whatever it is,
Okay.
she'll be there for you. And that was really nice to have.
I guess, yeah. I guess I probably
And then
won't
the
get
other
that being
thing is
asleep.
I got to build my own playlist. So I went on Spotify and I built a playlist of songs that I wanted to hear during the operation because I'm awake.
Yeah.
And so I themed some of them around Parkinson's, so and some around surgery and so like the first song out of the gate was "Staying Alive." I'm like, hey doc, this one's for you. We're gonna work on this today, right?
No, no subtleties here, folks. None whatsoever.
And he got a chuckle out of it. And then at one point, the whole operating room busted into greatest the Greatest Showman, the
Oh,
soundtrack that I was playing, and they're like singing along with it, and I'm like, this is great.
oh, that's wild. Was anybody operating at that point?
Yeah, of course. But there's a lot of downtime, so there's a
Yeah,
lot of consulting and looking at the things
yeah.
and making sure they have the right path and and then they come back to you and like I can hear you. You're over there. What are you saying about me?
And I'm thinking that I should just explain to folks what the fundamental difference between awake and asleep is.
Yeah, when you're asleep, and when you're awake, you're awake.
Yes, but what difference does it make to the surgery and the
Oh,
success
I
of
see.
the
Okay.
surgery? When you're awake, they actually talk to you and ask you how you're feeling and ask you to speak and make sure that your voice is good and that they're ensuring that they've put the probe in the correct placement. And with sleep, they do the same thing, only they do it with an MRI. Instead of me having to answer them, they've already mapped it out ahead of time. They've taken an MRI ahead of time. They know where they want that electrode to be. And then once they place it, they bring in, you're in the OR, they have an MRI here. They just wheel you over to the MRI, take a shot of it, and if it's in the right place, you should be golden. And my
Great.
guy has had just as good a luck asleep as he has awake. Outcomes are bang on the same. Negative outcomes are about the same, 1%, actually a little less for asleep than they are awake for him. And so I'm feeling pretty confident in it.
That's great. Yeah, with the awake, with the awake, um, they would have Nurse Nancy. She was giving me the wrist,
Yeah.
uh, the cogwheel, and then once she found a groove there where I wasn't catching, then they had me say 4, 5, 6. The first time I tried to say it, I went 4, 5, 6. Okay, now try it again, Larry. 4, 5, 6. Like, how about one more time? Like 4, 5, 6. And they're like, hey, here we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like a little bit of a guinea pig, but not really. All the last 3 years, I think, so we've done mostly asleep here in Manitoba.
Okay.
So I'm feeling
That's
like
great.
yeah, feeling like I'm in pretty good company. We'll get to the other side and we'll do this again and we'll talk about it then as well.
Well,
So
yeah. And do you have a surgery date?
February 1st, 2024.
Whoa, dude. That's awesome.
Assuming there's enough staff, assuming I don't get bumped from OR time, there's always a scrap over OR time.
Well,
So
and your surgeon is from Calgary?
comes from Alberta. I think he's in Edmonton, either Calgary or Edmonton.
Okay.
But he does this all the time, and we fly him into Manitoba to take care of us.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being rid of days like today. Shaky,
Yes.
foggy, brain not quite working right. And here's hoping that here's hoping that A, it doesn't get any worse than this, and really hoping that it gets a few steps better.
Well, Tim, I can't guarantee what you're going to be, but if you have the same success I have had, you're going to be like, whoa, why didn't
Well,
I do this sooner?
from your lips to God's ears.
Yes.
So let it be. Well, if there is there any other thing you want to pass on to our viewers today? Any one thing they need to know about DBS or think about DBS or
I let's see.
and
I think that with DBS, people need to understand it's no longer experimental surgery. This has been going on for 15, 20 years. My doctor has done over 1,000 surgeries. Like this is routine. This is part of, this is not last case resort. This is not hold off until the very end. They're using this differently now than they did at first. And
our
so
technology
you
is
need
so
to
much
catch up
better.
on your research and read up about it, because it's a great example of what you can do as part of your treatment plan. And um, you don't need to live with the pain and the discomfort of all the affects of the disease. There's an option until there's another option. And one of the things that was exciting for me is DBS is reversible. So
Yeah,
it doesn't eliminate you from future technologies or future treatments, so like stem cell or whatever.
yeah, absolutely. Well, good word, good word. And we know it's reversible because I know people who have had it taken out.
Yeah, me too.
One individual who had a very rare occurrence of a very bad infection and had to have the whole device taken out to clean his body up from infection. And once the infection was cleared up, they went and put it back in. It's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Amazing story. So, all right. Well, thank you. It's
Thank
a
you, and
pleasure having you
happy
on.
holidays and a happy new year.
Yeah, happy New Year to you and your family as well, Becca and
Henry.
Henry. Sorry, I wanted to say Harold, and I knew that was not right.
Harold. I'm going to start calling him Harold. I think that's a better name.
You won't like me. Don't worry about that. But
And
wish Henry
enjoy your
and Becca a
coffee.
happy New Year for us, and thank you again for coming on today. We'll have you back on again after I'm done with mine, and we'll talk some more. So February 1st, keep us all in your prayers, folks, and we'll pray that all things go well with DBS.
Great. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Larry. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Things to talk about there today, and hope we've given you some food for thought regarding DBS and how if you have Parkinson's, that might be in your future or not. And if you have someone you love that has Parkinson's, that hopefully helps you understand DBS a little bit better. Now, in the interim, we're always in the interim. I feel like with Parkinson's to some degree, we're waiting for a cure. We're waiting for DBS. We're waiting for something to come along and make our lives a little bit better for us. But I want to remind you this morning that there is much that can be done today to mitigate our symptoms with Parkinson's and help us live better with the disease right now. And I was telling this to our folks at U-Turn Parkinson's at class the other day. At the end of class, I asked them a simple question. I said, why are we here exercising? Why are we here? I said, is it to get in shape? No. Is it to be more fit? No. Is it to lose weight? No. Is it to look better? No. Is it to look more buff, build muscle? No. No, it's none of those things. The reason we exercise in Parkinson's is dopamine. It is all about the dopamine. And if you're new here and you're wondering why I'm pointing at my head, it's because Parkinson's is a neurological disease. It's a disease of the brain where we don't produce enough dopamine in the substantia nigra down the center of our brain. Except that science has proven to us that we can, through intense physical exercise, when we're sweating, we produce dopamine. Not only do we produce dopamine, but exercise allows our body to use the dopamine that we have better. So, folks, there is something that can be done today. There is a bit of a cure waiting for you. You just have to get off the couch. You got to get off your seat and get out and sweat a little bit. And you will find, like all of us at U-Turn Parkinson's, that when you do, you will feel better, you will function better, your symptoms will be less, and you will thank the day that you heard this and responded to it. So why are we here? While we wait for DBS, while we wait for a cure, we're here exercising, doing all that we can to produce the dopamine that we so desperately need. Now, speaking of things that we desperately need, U-Turn Parkinson's has kicked off the start of our 5-year business plan that we rewrote this past year. In 2024, we are working our way towards our own headquarters, our own physical space where we're not subleasing from someone else, but we're carrying the lease ourselves. We own the lease so that we don't get asked to move again. We've been moved so many times over the course of our life that it's just redonkulous. We need our own place that we can settle into and grow from. There is so much work that needs to be done, not only here in Manitoba, but across Canada. So many people have asked us to bring U-Turn Parkinson's to their community, and we can't do that until we are established here and that we have ourselves settled here and have a good solid base here. So that's what we're working towards this next year here in Manitoba. And if you would like to be a part of that in any way, write me. I'd love to have a chat with you and talk to you about how you could be a part of that. A simple thing is that if you are so inclined, you can make a donation to U-Turn Parkinson's and help us out in our capital campaign to fund our HQ. That's coming in late 2024. So keep an eye out for that. I want to encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not on X anymore, sort of, but not really. And follow me and keep up to date with what's going on. And I want to invite you to invite me to come speak to your group, whether it be a Parkinson's group, a corporate group, a church group, or whatever group. I have spoken at everything. I would love to come share my story with you about winning the amazing race and what it means to persevere through difficult times living with Parkinson's. I think it's a good story. It's a fun story. Had the chance to write a book about it, and you may have seen and read my book, Perseverance. And I had a huge compliment paid to me just yesterday. A friend of mine that lives in Australia, she told me that her teenage daughter told her to tell me how much she enjoyed reading my book. Not only was that just a great compliment, but the icing on the cake was she read the book 3 years ago. A teenager remembering your book that she read 3 years ago and telling her mom to compliment you on it. Well, that warmed my heart. That meant a lot. So I think it's a good book. It's still on Amazon if you're so inclined. It's called Perseverance, and the author's Tim Hake Sr. Well, guys, I think that's it for me today. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, and have a great weekend. Hug the ones you love. Live your best. Persevere, because this race, your race, can be won as well. I'm Tim Hake Sr. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.